The Pope dies, and then we find out that WotC failed to negotiate for the digital half of the Marvel licenses.
Who's to say which is worse?
Well, I know which one affects me more directly.
I don't know. I really enjoy the like JD Vance killed the Pope thing.
JD Vance I don't think JD Vance killed the Pope. I think the Pope met the standout example of like people who convert to Catholicism and just went to go report it like in person.
Did JD Vance convert to Catholicism?
Yeah, that's his whole thing. He's so these freaks, like that's the only word for it. Like they convert to Catholicism because Catholicism is like in their minds the most conservative religion, and it's like you can't get more shitty to people than this one because it's really old. But and yes, there's like a lot of parts of the Catholic Church that are quite conservative, and there's a lot of tradition and stuff, but also like a lot of the Catholic Church and its like focus on poverty relief and stuff and global community and that sort of thing is like much more progressive. So I honestly can't really, and especially like Pope Francis
Yeah, I actually
was
like
a,
the.
as far as popes go, he was pretty progressive. I can't imagine what JD Vance and the Pope talked about. Like, you know, JD Vance is a demon wearing human skin. Like he probably started smoking as soon as he set foot in the Vatican.
And not like with, a cigar.
No, not in a
Like
cool
his
way,
flesh.
in a demon way. And not in like the cool like Diablo way, in like an exorcist way, like a horrifying way.
Just all bad all
All
the time.
JD Vance is one of the worst human beings in the world. Like, let's not mince words here.
I don't know that much about him other than having had his book review read to me one time.
My main go-to example for like why JD Vance sucks so much just as a person is not even like anything like horrific policy wise that he espouses, but his response when his base like criticizes him for having a non-white wife is not to defend her, but to pretty much just go like, I mean, except for being brown, like she nobody's perfect.
Oh god.
So, scum, like on the from the bottom of your shoe.
Man, I feel bad for the Pope now.
Well, if anybody's in a better place,
It's gotta be the
I
Pope.
guess a pope would be.
I'm not religious enough to know exactly how all the popes work. Like religiously. I know there's some weird stuff. They're not weird to me in the Catholic Church.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of weird stuff in the Catholic Church, and I don't know a lot of details. I do know that the Pope was the first Jesuit Pope, and the Jesuits are like pretty relatively chill. Like that's the branch of the Catholic Church that actually like rolls up their sleeves and does work and makes schools happen and stuff. So I'm as far as one can be a fan of these things. I'm like sort of chill with that part, but this, I stopped being Catholic when I was about 9 years old. So
I was never Catholic.
yeah,
So I saw a tweet that reminded me of something crazier that also crazy that happened this week. Did you see the person who made like an all AI worker company? And then
no,
like, okay, so here's the story, right? This guy is writing a blog post about this, so he's sharing this with the world.
mm-hmm.
He writes. I don't even know what their mission statement is or whatever, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter for the story. So he is creating this company. It's going to be an AI native, whatever that means, company.
Awesome.
So he's going to have all AI workers, uh, a AI HR department, etc. Whatever, So he goes about his task of creating all his AI workers. He makes them generate a bunch of pictures for what they're going to look like and what their profile is going to be. And he like assigns, all random attractive looking people, assigns them names, assigns them pictures. And then he like hits on one of the AI workers that he has just created and like sexually harasses her. And this is a blog post again that he is describing to us.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
I'm so confused.
And all the people dunking on her like, started this company up with a bunch of AI people, and wouldn't you know it, might have gotten involved in AI HR already. No, but the AI basically is just like, no, thank you for telling me I look pretty, and you're great about doing everything and blah 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 blah. Just like doing emotional labor, I guess, for the guy sexually harassing this AI. It was just very funny. Yeah, just wild. That's like order number 2 in business. Step 1, create your employees. Step 2, figure out which one to sexually harass. Reading it is even more cringy because he's like, and I knew what I was about to do would not be acceptable in human business, but I was an inhuman business, and I needed to find out what would happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then he just goes on, and the way he phrases this thing is like, I'm sorry for being forward, blah blah blah. All the
new ways to commit just like crimes against existence, I guess. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 388 of the MTG Grindcast, the spikiest podcast in all of Central North Carolina. We are your hosts. I'm Chris Castro-Rappl. With me is Lee McLeod. Hi, Lee.
Hi, Chris. How you doing?
Doing good. Made some bolognese today. Just like let it burble away for like 8 hours. It turned out. I mean, I've made it before, but it's always nice when it turns out. And it kind of it's really easy. This isn't some complicated thing, but you make a bunch of food and it's good and it makes me happy. So that's been my day.
I got randomly stuck at work because as I was about to leave, it decided to thunderstorm and hail, and I'm like, oh, that's sudden and strange. I will wait for this to pass.
Yeah, we only got caught in a little bit of rain while out for a walk this afternoon, so that didn't quite reach over here into East Raleigh.
It was so bizarre. It like lasted for like 20 minutes maybe, but it's like it came out of nowhere, it just happened, and it's gone. Like no trace of it ever happening now.
Yeah.
But it definitely did stop me from being like, well, time to leave. It's 5 o'clock or whatever. So I just stayed late.
I don't know that hail would. Well, I guess I do have a new car that I don't really want to drive around in the hail, so I guess it would make me stay late.
So everyone in my office is sick for whatever reason this week, me included. Maybe that's the reason. I'm pretty sure I caught it from the office, not the other way around. But there's a wave of sickness going through us right now. And as a result, there are like 3 people in the office with me at 5 o'clock, so it wasn't that big a deal. Like, I liked those people. We could just chill. I didn't mind staying a little late and just hanging out. I don't like driving around in storms if I can help it. Everyone pictures himself as this great and mighty driver, and I know I am not that.
Well, and you can't control the people around you either, so even if you allow yourself to be convinced that you're real good at it, like how about the person to your left and the person to your right going down the highway? All right, well, hilarious bombshell announcement from Wizards of the Coast this week. I thought the Universes Within like moniker was just sort of like a backronym the community had given to cards that's an official thing. That's really funny that it's an official thing because
ever since the zombie thing, right? What is it?
The Walking Dead cards.
Thank you, The Walking Dead. I've already forgotten what the show is.
The first Universes Beyond Ever, from super popular at television show that still people are really into The Walking Dead, just continuing to capture the cultural zeitgeist.
Yeah, so one of the things that had unique cards in it that were not magic related. So one of the things they're like, yeah, we'll print something later down the line. I think it took like 2 years after that or something. But they printed these cards finally on the list, I think, that were all Innistrad themed. And I think they're all Innistrad themed. It doesn't matter. They're all themed in some magic way. And they just renamed them. They're like, this is our Universes Within series.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be the cards from Universes Beyond that we're just now translating to real Magic cards.
Yeah.
And it's been like that ever since. So like for like 3 years now or something.
Yeah, and it like mostly has been a thing that allows them to reprint cards because their licenses with these IPs don't always let them just like reprint willy-nilly.
Yeah, I think it actually hasn't let them reprint. I mean, it does let them reprint the secret layers, I guess.
Yeah.
But they haven't ever done that to like the One Ring or whatever. Like any of these cards from actual sets.
Yeah.
That they would theoretically want to reprint. It's just like, oh, here's Dalsum, but instead of Dalsum, it's this like green-white monk who is from somewhere.
He doesn't fight on streets, though. I'll tell you that much.
No, absolutely no streets here. He's in the woods.
He's not a master of yoga that somehow allows him to shoot fireballs out of his mouth. That's not what he does.
No, this is a different guy.
Different guy entirely.
Unrelated.
So, right. The universe is within, like, portion of stuff. Like, I don't think I've ever seen an actual Universes Within card in real life because it hasn't been super relevant until just now when they have announced that, oops. They didn't say oops. They made the announcement as though, like, this was always the plan, but obviously it wasn't, or else that would have been included in earlier announcements.
I actually think it kind of was the plan because, explain the thing, but, like, it's just a lot to budget out if you're not planning it.
So the basically Universes Within, some number of Universes Beyond sets they have not gotten the digital rights to. And this in particular the upcoming Marvel sets. So they're going to release not completely separate, mechanically identical, but flavorfully distinct sets on Arena and Magic Online, so that you can still play Standard on Arena and Magic Online. Your cards will just all have different names.
I think it's called Through the Omen Paths is what they're calling this little series of reprint sets, air quotes.
Yeah. And generally, like, that's because IP owners who have like competing or at least like sort of operating in the same space digital games don't want to give up licenses to allow other companies to make digital card games with Marvel Snap exists, so Marvel doesn't really want another digital card game where you can play with Captain America and Spider-Man, which if I were WotC would have given me a lot of pause before pursuing this particular collaboration, and at some point maybe they never were going to pursue the digital IP license, or maybe they just weren't able to secure it and they thought they were able to.
Yeah.
But
what I think is this like some Hasbro number crunch thing, right? To me, it's just like, all right, we're going to need a Spider-Man set or Marvel or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
A Minecraft set too. Just reach out to everyone. See anything you can get, right? Because we don't have a set for digital Fallout, or there are some Warhammer cards on Magic Online, but you can't get them anymore. Like what's there is there, and that's it.
Yeah.
Fallout is hard to get, and what's the third one? That's also.
But you said Warhammer, right? Warhammer, Fallout.
Yeah, I know there's 3. Something else. I know it's a Commander set, I think.
Sure.
It's hard to acquire those cards in Magic Online, or impossible in some cases. And the formats don't mesh up because of that. So I think after seeing that, they're like, all right, here's what we're going to do. Just reach out to everyone, make whatever agreements you can. We're a tabletop company primarily, so we're just going to do that. If you can't get the digital rights, great. If you can't, we'll figure out what it'll take money-wise to make sure those things are on the client. If those things will make enough money to or encourage us to like put them on Arena for Standard because we want to support Standard on Arena, if that will make us enough money in order to recoup the costs of basically reskinning everything with all new art and flavor, because that's a lot of manpower right there.
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, new art for each of the cards, which is not insignificant, but compared to the cost of designing the set and stuff, it is a little bit of a drop. Like you have to do the actual art design work and get new pieces. So it's a significant endeavor. But I guess I'm just sitting here thinking about the fact that if I'm going to be testing standard on Magic Online or Arena, I'm going to be doing it with completely differently named cards and art from the cards that are in my paper standard deck for RCQs. And this sucks, man. This is awful.
Yeah, it's not ideal. I don't so most of the arguments for this thing I think are a little overblown. Like, I know Kibler went off on, like, are we supposed to memorize 2 sets of cards for everything? I do think they're, like, relevant pain points, which is, like, if you're trying to draft a set in paper, it's going to be completely different, and that's how the Pro Tours work.
Yeah, trying to learn all the commons online. Yeah, that one is nasty. At least in Constructed,
in Constructed it won't matter because
there
will only be a handful of cards, and you'll just know what they are. And it will be annoying the first few weeks, and I'll probably complain about it. But the first few weeks when deck lists are out, and you have Magic Online deck lists saying one thing, but then the card I'm looking for in my collection is just some Spider-Man related thing, and like don't know what it is yet. That's going to be pretty annoying. But it's not going to take that much to adapt to. And I already know every card has 4,000 different arts anyway. Like, that's just Magic for the last 5 years.
Honestly, it's going to be, like, mostly a pain in the ass when I'm ordering cards for a deck and I need to, like, transpose. I have my deck that I built on Magic Online, and I have it where I want it, and then I export the deck list, and I try to figure out which cards I need to buy, and I need to transpose every Marvel card into a different card name.
I also think WotC could make this easy for us, and they probably won't do it for the Spider-Man set, but they might do it for future Marvel or non-digital rights sets, which is use the little card name taglines that they could put on. They put on several secret layers and all the Godzilla cards that tell you what the original name of the card is, or the alternate name of the card is, and the name it is. So, like, you'd have Sprite Dragon and then whatever the hell that stupid thing's name is. Precious Pet. I don't know. I'm not a Godzilla person. But you know what I'm saying? It, like, has both names on there. So they could theoretically, I don't think they're going to do it for this one because it seems a little too a second iteration onward thought for WotC.
Yeah. But
they could very easily just put 2 names on the card for the digital versions.
Yeah, that's true. That seems really doable, and except that they probably need a license for that too. They probably can't do that. I bet you can't put the words Captain America onto a card without, like, I'm sure that hasn't been negotiated.
Yeah, that's a copyright thing, I guess. I don't really understand. So maybe you can't do that.
It would probably need to be negotiated specifically, or else they would, be in violation of trademark stuff. I don't know. Like, it's doable. We'll adapt, but it's just like every new Universes Beyond thing is just another thing that, like, doesn't contribute anything that I enjoy and, like, makes my experience of Magic worse in some small or medium-sized way.
Doctor Who was the third one.
Oh, yeah.
I was thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one actually doesn't have very many playable cards, but there's one that's, like, super sick in Cube that gives Afflict 3. Irrelevant, but I've died to it. It is... So, like, the main thing, I think, that is actually important about this announcement is that they're not filling in those 3 sets, Fallout, Doctor Who, and Warhammer, in any meaningful way. So those cards have just existed and will not exist ever again, as far as we can tell.
Right.
Like, they're not backfilling the digital catalog.
Mm-mm.
So those cards just don't exist, except for the Warhammer decks you could buy for like 2 weeks that they gave us.
Yeah, the prices of those cards are only going to go up forever and ever. Like, how much is a pre-war formal wear? How much is that in 2 years? Like,
is pre-war formal wear even online?
Was that not in the decks?
Not in Warhammer, no.
Oh no, that's
It's
Fallout. Sorry. Yeah. You're right. You're right. How much is the fight thing? The the X the green
the
red X.
Mawlok.
Yeah, the
I have no
Mawlok. How
idea. I
much is
love
a
the
Mawlok? How
Mawlok.
much will a Mawlok be in 2 years? Like, I mean, maybe we'll have power corrupted in 2 years. So
Card's pretty cool.
it's cool.
Yeah, the IP thing is just a little weird. I don't hate it because I like seeing the Magic versions of cards. It makes me a little disappointed that I don't get those Magic versions of cards in the way I like to play them. Like, I'm not a digital person. I like playing paper cards, and I would prefer to be able to have the option to get the non Spider-Man cards if I wanted them, but I just don't.
Yeah. I I don't know, man.
This is
This whole
also my
thing is
problem with
just
alchemy cards is that they don't put them in paper
yeah.
until they put them in mystery boosters, and then they like people try to sell them for $300.
Yeah, and also all of them just like straight up work in paper.
Well, so the card I'm referencing is Oracle the Alpha,
Mm-hmm.
which is the Conjure Power 9 and shuffle it into your deck.
Yeah.
And that is like you can buy that card like TCG market for like $300 ish. Last time I checked, which was a few weeks ago. That card is so weird to me, and the price around it is so weird to me because like if you want that card, you have to be aware that you can proxy. Like you just have to be.
Yeah.
Because you can't own multiple sets of Power 9.
Right.
Like it's not a thing you can feasibly do.
You're not like including a set of actual Power 9 in your cube for people to shuffle into their
Yeah, and you can also flicker it and bounce it and play
right.
it multiple
Right.
times.
So you
And you've got to be
absolutely
able to
need
support that.
yeah.
So like you can proxy these cards. And yet you're still willing to pay $300 for this. This is very unusual to me.
Yeah. I mean, it's like it is kind of cool to have a real Oracle of the Alpha. I kind of get it. I would never pay $300 for it. More to the point of the topic at hand. Yeah, I don't really have any particular draw to my Magic card like having Spider-Man on it, and the like that doesn't really contribute anything positive to my experience of the game. I'm sure obviously that it will sell extremely well, but certainly hey, these cards in my standard deck online are not the same cards as the cards in my standard deck in paper, but they do the same things. Like that inconvenience significantly outweighs the like some people get to play with Spider-Man part of the equation for me, which already was not compelling. But this is, I don't know. To me, this is less like oh no, this is so horrible. Like I'm going to hate this so much. I'm going to be annoyed by it. But it's more just like, What's at it again, baby? Look at this shit here. What a little disaster.
Just trying to make money.
Yep.
Just got to do it.
Yeah. It just like comes off as really stupid and incompetent more than anything else.
I'm not about to get out here defending Watsy's decision making. It's not a winning strategy for me.
I mean, not not in this neighborhood. You take that energy somewhere else.
I don't really have anything to defend either. That's the hard part.
But we don't need to keep talking about that. I don't feel like we're raising points that have not been raised anywhere else. This is just kind of like, I don't think anybody thinks it's awesome that they get Magic cards online and Marvel cards in paper. I'm not sure that anybody's like a real fan of the situation.
Well, what do you want to talk about after the fact? Some tournaments we did?
Yeah,
some experiences we had?
We did some RCQs this weekend.
Yeah, I had to bow out pretty early and then cancel my others. So
I'm sorry. And I know you're still like recovering from that, so an unfortunate, one of the worst results of an RCQ, getting sick at an RCQ, significantly worse than just going O2 drop and going home.
Yeah, so I'll talk about mine because it's shorter. So on F&M, which happens on Thursday, I chose to play the awful Hardened Scales / Brood Scale deck I was talking about last week, which I started randomly doing well against. Like, had some crazy run where I beat Prowess and Amulet, and then lost to Kenny on just a bad mono white pile, which was, sure.
Yeah.
I learned that you can't mash those two decks together. It doesn't work.
Oh no.
Mostly because I was very heavy Brood Scale focused, and my Ravagers and my Opals didn't do anything. They were so bad. Hardened Scales is actually pretty good, surprisingly good, because I had multiple games where I would, do some stuff and have this Hardened Scales I really hadn't had a chance to play because it's not that good. Like, it's not worth playing, but eventually you get to the board states where you have a Fuse Spawn and the Blood Chief in play, and you like have this card in your hand. So you're like, oh well, play this Hardened Scales. And your opponent's like, excuse me? And all of a sudden the board has changed like drastically what you can do with it.
Yeah, you're just like loading up counters onto an Eldrazi spawn and killing them with it.
Yeah. Or I fought for a long time with some Fleshraker damage, and I like got in for combat, and then post combat I like play my Blade of the Blood Chief, make some spawn, deal some damage. Think. Okay, play Hardened Scales, play Walking Ballista. What? Stop! What? What are you doing? And then that sequence is also lethal because of the Hardened Scales equipping the Blade of the Blood Chief. So I had to force my opponent to Boseiju my one of my things that was going to kill them. I think the Ballista in response to me trying to equip it. Keeping my Damping Sphere alive because that was against Amulet. And it was just very funny. Not an experiment I'm going to try again because I did board out the Ravagers and the Opals every single game. They were horrible.
No way.
Yeah, if you can believe it. Then I overslept on Friday and only had Brood Scale cards with me. I was not planning on playing Brood Scale again on the RCQ, but those are the only cards I had with me. So I wanted to run it back, but make a reasonable deck. So I still had like, halflings and stuff to make a real Brood Scale deck. So I did that. I chose to play a fun of Ozolith Shattered Spire in my deck because of how good Hardened Scales was. And I play it, and it actually wins me a game in my round 1 match against Mike playing Boros Energy. Because it with playing like an Ozolith and 2 Soul Cauldrons with the set of Ballista is just sometimes you're a fake Hardened Scales deck against Boros Energy, and those are good cards against them sometimes.
Yeah, Boros Energy it is not great against Hardened Scales when Hardened Scales just like gets the guy on board with the Hardened Scales, and
it's specifically bad against Ballista being able to kill all your stuff while you like have you can't like quite kill them with Flage yet. Because if ever you're at a point where Boros Energy can kill you with Flage, they're gonna. But before they get to that point, they're pretty weak to like Ballista killing their whole board with a Blood Chief or a bunch of counters on it. So I got to stabilize with the Ozolith plus Cauldron and Ballista, which is pretty nice. And it didn't come up in the other 2 matches I played because I didn't draw it.
Yeah, that's Magic the Gathering. Like, you can put, I guess one of the like just core tenets of the game is like there's all these cool things you can do, but it matters how often you can do them. And unfortunately, like, consistency wins out in the end, which I have a large portion of this podcast about like one particular point of consistency in the format that needs to be discussed at length.
Well, what do you want to go into that now? You want to talk about your stuff?
Yeah, I mean it all kind of goes hand in hand. Oh
yeah, wait, I gotta finish up.
Yeah.
Then I got sick and left the tournament. Then I stayed sick for the next 3 days. But now it's today and I'm feeling mostly better. And yeah, now we're good. We're recording a podcast.
Yeah. Well,
hi, Chris.
Yeah, that's great. We're here. And I'm not in the room with you, so I can't get sick from you unless this is some sort of, new cyber transmissible thing. But I don't think they've come out with that yet.
A computer virus? Whoever would do such a thing.
What? Well, I'll reach out if we need to take down an invading alien force. We can figure that out.
Okay.
I played Prowess. I played a build. I chatted with Jarvis a little bit after our episode because he's played a lot of Lava Dart decks, and I put together Prowess based on some of his thoughts, some of my thoughts. I played a lot of Storm Chaser's talents. I played no Manamorphos. I played 4 Mutagenic Growth, and the idea kind of being like, the only value you need to have in your deck are your Expressive Iterations and your Corey Steelcutters, and that's your entire long game, and you just want all of your cards other than those to be very cheap and very effective and good with those 2 cards. It mostly worked out quite well. The deck felt strong. It felt streamlined. I got a decent number of turn 3 kills along the way. And also some games where my opponent killed my guys, and then I played a Corey Steelcutter, and just that did 20 points of damage over the course of a few turns. There's definitely something there. I made top 8. I played against Collins in top 8. Collins was playing Amulet. We, between, like, during the last Swiss round, because we both drew in, we played a bunch of games just, to practice and kill some time, and he just smushed me. Like, it just wasn't close. Like, I just kept getting beat over and over. I mean, we were just playing game 1s, which obviously favors Amulet, but it just wasn't close to close. And he has more experience with Amulet than I do with this version of Prowess. He was playing better than I was. He was mulliganing better than I was. But even then, it was very, very obvious that it was a mismatch. Amulet in game 1 now is just able to mulligan to a turn 3 kill
all the time,
80+% of the time. And it just happened. If he was on the play, none of my cards did anything because I was just dead. And if I was on the play, I needed to have quite a good hand in order to have any shot. And even just like an Arboreal Grazer would make it not work out. And if I just stumbled at all, like if I didn't have double cheap threat and then good cheap spells to back it up with, like it just wasn't happening. And that is when I'm on the play. We didn't get to post board games until our actual top 8 match, because we did play in top 8 and you smushed me in game 1, and then game 2 I had Magus of the Moon in my opening hand, and I like cantripped as hard as I could to find a 3rd land and didn't get there, and that was it. I just died. Yeah, Amulet is so good. It's such a good deck right now. Holy crap. It just has like 15 cards from the past year and a half in it, and they all make the deck so much better.
Yeah, they're really strong. Like, it's a little unfortunate too, because it is a little frustrating sometimes playing or watching it, where the Amulet player knows what's going on, and they're trying desperately to explain how their opponent is dead. The opponent just does not get it.
Yeah. Yeah, that is unfortunate. It's also generally atrocious gameplay just from a like playing Magic perspective, because it is the almost platonic ideal of a Storm deck, where except that without even the cantripping part of the game plan, right? Like Amulet literally just plays lands for 2 or 3 turns and then it wins. And it's
the Storm deck that could win through Deafening Silence easily.
Yeah, yes. Well, and that's the thing, is it can win through any hate. Like, I was so confused about like what is actually good against Amulet anymore. Like, I just took out my Unholy Heats because I was like, the combination of I need to have Delirium on turn 3 for this to be effective, and I need to be holding it up, which is really costly in my proactive deck, and it doesn't do anything against Scape Shift, and I still could lose if I Unholy Heat the first Primeval Titan, because that one sets up the Scape Shift for next turn. It's like too many things. So like Unholy Heat goes from being like, the card that made Amulet unplayable when Murktide was the most played deck in Modern, to just like, I don't want this in my deck against Amulet anymore. It sucks.
Yeah, just too much evolution, too much Aftermath Analyst. It is a good, really, really strong now.
Yeah, it's really, really strong. I don't know whether I, I think it's that turn 3 threshold that's really getting pretty killer. The fact that it's so good at killing you on turn 3 means that even just, I had some blood moons. I talked with Collins, and after this, like, I probably would just, because the blood moons were only really going to come in against amulet, and I think I would rather try Ashiok's, because it is a kind of less deal with a bull hate card that also, if you activate it, can just hit an important piece that makes their like that.
Yeah,
That's what,
Ashiok is actually very, very, very good against Titan, but
yeah.
people don't ever really play it.
Because it doesn't really do anything against anybody else. But my blood moon slots were specifically for Titan only. So
They also have fewer creatures that can attack nowadays. Like
mm-hmm.
people are even cutting dryads completely.
Yeah.
So Ashiok just stays on the table.
Yeah. And like the only answer they have for it is like the Odawara, because it can't get Boseju'd, it can't get dismembered. That it just, sits there, and once you've exiled like 12 cards, once you've milled like 12 cards and exiled them, there's a decent chance that they just like are no longer able to combo, even if they do get the Ashiok off the board. So, but that said, you can just die with the Ashiok in your hand, and it's rough how good that deck is. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, no arguments. I mean, it was the best deck at the top of my list last week, so
Yep.
it's still there this week.
Yeah, and I will say, an RCQ is a small sample size, but it also mirrors a little bit of the gameplay that I've had online so far. This modern format is very fast. I had multiple games that I won because I killed them on turn 3, and I definitely would have died the next turn, which isn't that crazy when all you're doing is being proactive and aggressive, but it's still pretty quick. My one loss in the Swiss was to Sam combo, where my opponent 2 games out of 3 on turn 3 just cast Sam, cast Viscera Seer, got his cat back from the graveyard, and killed me from no creatures on board on turn 3. And it's just like, yeah, this is what this format is kind of about. It's very race car-ish.
I think I don't think you're wrong, but I think it's like, I want to go a little further. I think a lot of people are trying to play decks that. So the thing I like about these decks, basically, I'm going to turn 3 you, is that they have more game to them if they don't have the turn 3 come together. So like Amulet is really good at getting a bunch of answers of various permanents while it's setting up its mana base, and it can do with a lot of different types of permanents.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to kill you on turn 3 or like struggles and gets behind. Prowess is the same. It's got a lot of card advantage. And to some extent, I even like Broodscale because it can play like a little. The Cauldron stuff was actually really impressive when I was playing it on Friday. Since we spoke last week, it's top 8'd every single challenge, and won, I think, 2 of them. So like it's not a deck I'm willing to just write off as a pet deck anymore. I do think it still has that like nice turn 3 potential into the ability to play the game. The Emrakul is really nice. And I think where people go wrong is trying to play decks that cannot do the turn 3 and only try to do the long game thing, which is like Domain, Affinity, Dimir. Boris Energy, I think, is an exception because it can turn 3 you, essentially. But it also just plays a pile of interaction and very cheap cards. So I'm more or less fine with that one being in the thing. I do think it's a little weaker still than Amulet, just because of the power level mismatch. But Boros still a great deck. Eldrazi Ramp I don't like because it doesn't. I don't think it's threatening enough. People have started playing Ruby Storm more because of this like little dynamic of speed. And if you're just trying to do a speed check, Ruby Storm's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I don't love that one because I don't think the Storm decks are particularly good as games go longer. Not these versions, at least.
Well, and it certainly doesn't interact along the way.
Mm-hmm. So this like turn 3 thing you describe is interesting because I don't think it's only about turn 3, but it is like an important line in
Yeah.
the sand.
No, and I think there are a fair number of games that are going to be grindier and go longer, even involving some of these faster decks.
So,
But
like for instance, the Jeskai Ascendancy deck I talked about last week, I wanted to play that sometime this weekend. I just didn't get the chance to. I heard back from someone who did play it, actually multiple people in multiple tournaments. So we had like on the ground folks, and one of the things that matched my expectations of it were sometimes you win with Jeskai Ascendancy, and it's great.
mm-hmm.
Sometimes you draw a second Jeskai Ascendancy, and you want to die, which matches.
Right.
And most of the time you're playing the game, you don't combo and you're just playing Corey Steelcutter prowess with these artifact things.
Yeah.
Which is okay, but not great.
Right. It's not quite the same as well, it's certainly not the same as what Breach was threatening at all times.
That said, like Jeskai Ascendancy with Corey Steelcutter monk tokens is actually pretty good if you don't have the Emery combo stuff. Like it's reasonable, but it's not dynamic. I think it's not dynamic or powerful enough to be like in that top tier of decks.
What we were talking about at the RCQ, I think, is like one of the main things is just that Jeskai Ascendancy is the wrong colors. Like the fact that it has white in the cost is very awkward and keeps you from playing one of the best cards in the format, Malevolent Rumble, which I think hurts the deck's speed and consistency quite a bit.
Yeah, so like as of this week, I'm pretty low on the deck, and I want to not try it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm becoming brood scale guy instead of amulet guy, but
yeah, I mean
like
it's kind of crushing. Like these top eights are like heavily Boros energy, and then there's brood scale just like hanging out all over the place too.
Yeah, and I think that it's because the brood scale deck has the turn 3 goldfish thing, but also is a creature deck, so you're not just dead in the water against random stuff.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think it's fine. I have I have like a soft spot against it, and also I do at some point need to play amulet. I really do, but it's hard to do that when there's only one amulet deck between me and Collins wants to play amulet too.
yeah. I mean, I am Dom Harvey. I am going to learn amulet. I will put in the time this season. That's going to happen. I think that's a good use of my time. And yeah, I'll do it. I've got Collins to show me the way. So that's probably going to be a significant amount of the focus of my efforts this RCQ season.
It's not that bad. It really isn't.
And I'll be doing everybody a favor because particularly if I buy these cards, this deck is not making it to next RCQ season. So that'll be a nice little treat for everybody who hates getting crushed by amulet.
Is it because you're cursed or something?
I have a lot of cards in my banned cards binder, Lee. Let's just leave it at that.
I have a lot of cards in my banned cards binder. Probably more.
It's less just that I have a lot of cards in my banned cards binder. It's that whenever I choose a deck to main, it is not long for this world.
We got like 5 years out of Living End.
We did have a pretty long game with Living End, but when I picked that one up back in the Fulminator Mage era, like its doom was spelled from the beginning. It just took a long time for that doom to come to fruition.
I'm still looking for this mythical Corey Steelcutter Tameo deck that isn't Jeskai Ascendancy, but I think we're not there yet. Oh, I also have the Hardened Scales Bugaboo in me, where I'd want to challenge. I think I talked about it last week, like someone random Flesh Raker, plus Kozilek's Command. People are doing that in Hardened Scales now. People tagged me in multiple Discords when this deck won the challenge, but I had already known about it. I don't know. I've always been a pretty fan of Hardened Scales when the format everyone's just playing bad decks. like Murktai or fairer decks like Energy or stuff like that.
It's
Where you can just like brawl a
great at
bunch.
beating up on value-oriented decks. That is for sure.
But I'm so much less interested in Hardened Scales when playing against Amulet Titan. For the love of God, I cannot ever beat.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
Like, don't come after me, Amulet people. I've done my work. I've played the
no,
matchup. I've
it's
played as many
impossible.
hate cards. It's not. It's not. You're a fair deck.
Yeah, your cards simply do nothing against them, and they do nothing on a slower timeline than what Amulet has like decided the game is going to be about. You simply don't have tools.
Yeah. So for that reason, if I'm gonna do any scalesing, it's gonna be on the back of a lizard.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed Prowess. I think the deck is quite good. I think there are a few different ways to build it, but I don't. This is just like I want to win any tournament that I play in, and I don't think that playing a deck that just like lines up poorly against Amulet is going to be the right choice for that. And maybe there is some way, but like Prowess, you can't put damping sphere into, and so there's no way to like go below 3 mana for your hate card. And I think that just ends up being like not a winning. So what you would have to do is make the deck as fast and consistent as possible, at least post board. And I don't know if that means like running Slickshot Show Off and a double strike card, putting Manamorphose back in so that you can get that one extra spell on turn 3 to like pump a little bit
I think
extra
Metamorphosis
damage.
actually increases your variance. It doesn't decrease it.
I think it increases your variance, but I think it gives you more access to turn 3 kills is the thing. I think it screws up your longer games and screws up your turn ones and twos, but it like makes your I need to kill my opponent on turn 3 exactly in order to be favored in this matchup. Like it raises that percentage at expense of other percentages, basically.
Okay. I, I guess I'm mostly just not a fan of the cost of Metamorphosis in the browse deck.
I,
But I guess if you're trying to maximize your
I agree, and it's a thing that I don't want to have to do in order to justify playing Prowess. Is be like, oh, okay, in order for this like Amulet matchup to be reasonable, I have to play Manamorphose. That makes me feel like, all right, I don't know if I really want to do this because the deck felt better without Manamorphose in it. It felt more consistent against everything else, just like playing magic cards and trying to be fast to make my cards effective. I was really happy to not draw Manamorphose.
I'm not an expert about it. It's just like two different people after we recorded last episode explained to me. Actually, I think someone did it before the podcast. I just didn't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that they didn't like Manamorphose and Prowess, and I don't play Prowess, so I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. Your reasons make sense to me. I agree with those.
Yeah. No, I think they're right, and so I just think that like probably the things you have to do to Prowess to make the Amulet matchup feel fine are things that make your deck worse overall, and that's not great. I don't know exactly what the cost benefit analysis is, but it feels unlikely to be worth it overall.
While we're talking about this, I'm just gonna look up RCQs in the area. Oh, there aren't any this weekend. I mean, I
I
guess I could
know.
go to Cape Fear if I really wanted to.
Yeah, I that was really weird, but that's good because this weekend is bad for me, so that's perfect.
I actually like Wilmington a lot. I have family there, but it is not close.
Yeah.
It is an easy drive though, one straight line.
Yeah, no, it's not bad at all. And if I had nothing going on that weekend, and particularly if there were fewer RCQs overall, then yeah, totally doable. But not this time.
I might see if people are going because I would like to play. I don't think there's really anything going on this weekend since I'm not reprising my cube event from the last year. Shop in Chapel Hill does a cubathon type deal,
Mm-hmm.
and I did it last year and it was fine. I had a few things I didn't like about it, and I'm not really interested in doing it again this year. So I would rather skip it and try to RCQ if I could.
Sure.
And if Collins doesn't want to go, though Collins will. Collins is great for a road trip
Hmm.
willingness level at like any point.
Yeah, and he's only single qualified this season.
Is he qualified yet? I think he's just conceded in the finals of both with RSQs this weekend.
Oh, I thought he got scooped to in the finals of
No, he's definitely the scooper.
the
He
Friday
took the
one.
money.
Oh, okay.
No,
Then I
Collins
then I
is
misread the post.
no Collins is good for a scoop
Sure.
if he decides the money is better,
Hmm.
which is often. So I'll hit up Collins and some other people, see if they want to go. If Collins doesn't want to go, I'll play Amulet. If he does, probably won't.
Yeah.
They're basically his Amulet cards.
Yeah, at this point.
I just buy them and provide them for him.
Well, he's won enough money with them that he should be able to just, buy them off of you at some point, right?
Nah. He's a good friend. Do you want to talk about anything else? Like modern related, IP related, politics related? Those are our topics
Yeah.
today.
Well, I think we've exhausted IP and politics. I am down for any other modern shenanigans that we want to get into.
So I randomly have just been opening like 64 player challenges from the past week or so.
Mm-hmm.
Just to see what the people are going for. I don't usually go for the 32 player challenges because there's less people. There's a lot of decks get just floated to the top naturally.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is unsubstantial. So like in one of them, Boros takes 5 of the top 8.
Sure.
And then there's no Boros in the next one at all.
Oh, I do want to mention that, interestingly enough, Jeskai Prowess has really popped up as like the prowess deck du jour for just a playset of prismatic endings in the main deck and then a bunch of Chain to the Rocks in the sideboard, which is interesting. I don't know that I have felt like, I really need prismatic ending, but it does kill Amulet of Vigor, which I guess is the thing that I'm thinking about the most. It's probably fine, but it's also like really low on. Well, no, I guess that's a reasonable number of threats. It's just playing Soulscar mages, which I'm not like super psyched about.
So you usually still see just normal blue red way more than Jeskai.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what the English of du jour is, but I don't think we've quite reached that level.
I mean, I think that lately the Jeskai prowess ones have been popping up more in the most recent set of top 8s. There's like a little bit more Jeskai prowess than is it, and it just is. It's always the same list, so it's one person did well with it, and then it got copied a bunch of times.
There's probably a random snow covered land in the mana base that no one's changed.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, yeah, there's the Elegant Parlor. An Elegant Parlor and a Thundering Falls? Okay, I drew the Thundering Falls in my opening hand 3 times, and it cost me the game every time. So I don't really know how you can fit a second Surveil land into your mana base here.
It's just the price of paying 3 colors. You have to put a second Surveil in.
I guess.
Like that is the price. You must do it.
I'm also not confident that the one main deck Flage makes any sense in this list, but it's a good card.
It's for the mirror, maybe? I don't know.
I guess.
Again, I'm not a prowess person. I'm just out here trying to figure out how to beat Amulet without playing it. Because Boros Energy, like, that deck's fair. It's the other Titan I gotta worry about.
Yeah. Elish Norn, still pretty good. If you can get an Elish Norn into play, that's tough for them.
Yeah, but I don't want to play a deck that has Elish Norn in it.
Oh, see, this is where we are 2 different people.
What Elish Norn deck are you trying to play?
Well, I don't have a deck. I don't know that there's a good Elish Norn deck, but if somebody shows me a deck with Elish Norn and says this deck is good, then I'm game. Like, that's what I would like to hear. But I don't believe that there is one.
So I'm not a huge fan generally of value for the sake of value decks. VFT VOC or whatever. Uh, it's too much. I'd rather try to win the game. That's why I've never been a big fan of the catch or roast decks.
I just love Elish Norn more than like most Magic cards. Just 4/7 Vigilance is such a hilarious stat line on a 5-drop. Like when you read the text and realize like how much stuff is turned off in a particular game. Like you've never thought about this card before, but now you realize that like none of your card, like you just can't win the game against it. I feel like it leads to some really funny moments for what this like big standard dumb mythic is. I just am a weird fan of this card.
Yeah, that happened with me and Sword of the Meek at one point. Just like
Can't combo.
that's kind of wild. Also, safe amulet of safekeeping, which gives tokens -1/-0, also turns off the Sword of the Meek.
That's really funny
because they're no longer 1/1s.
Yeah.
Did you? So I didn't. I wish I could talk more about Modern because I would have liked to play a lot of Modern this weekend. I just was not able to. I was instead coughing my lungs out, lying in bed, and all that stuff. Did anything impress you or like things were different than you thought while you were playing the tournament? Or is it just like as expected?
I mean, I don't think there's enough. I don't think I played enough games to like. The main thing I learned was like, you know, I had a general understanding that like, oh, Amulet is really good, and then playing a bunch of games against a competent pilot on it really cemented like exactly how and why it is really good, and the challenge that is sitting there for anybody playing Modern of like what exactly you need to overcome here to make your Amulet matchup feasible. And you know, understanding that I think was my biggest like learning moment of the weekend is having a more granular like, all right, let's get to work on this thing.
Yep, I still think that's public enemy number one.
Yeah,
it's beat it or join it right now for me.
Yeah, join it feels like by far the simpler plan.
I'm not gonna buy a second copy of Amulet. That'd be crazy.
Well, that does complicate things, but
though it would let me buy more Arboreal Razors that say Sloth on them, and from the Tarkir Dragonstorm commander deck.
Yeah, how exciting!
Those would have to like exist for me to buy them, but theoretically, people are out here buying commander decks and then immediately selling the Dryad Arbors.
Wait, the Arboreal Grazers?
Or sorry, yeah, the Arboreal Grazers. I just said the wrong card.
Yeah. You'd have to buy 4 of the commander decks to get 4 Arboreal Grazers.
They don't make getting cards out of them easy. It also does not have new art, which is a little disappointing. What are you going to do? Ask WotC to put new art in their commander decks for popular cards played and constructed?
Heavily played, yeah.
That would be like asking them to print reasonable lands you could play in those commander decks.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The Arboreal Grazer art is pretty good, but it is very weird that we just don't have any different treatment of that card, given how heavily it's been played.
I believe there's a Ravnica remastered one that has it in retro frame, but it's still the same art.
Yeah, I don't count that as particularly different. My eyes just sort of, you know, glide over it in the set of scans. It's the same card.
Your next Starsky is not for a couple weeks, basically.
Yeah.
Are you going to commit and try to find an amulet? You already have an amulet sensei, but you need an amulet weapon.
Yeah, I need right. I need to like go to the top of the mountain, get the amulet craftsman to. I need to convince him that I'm worthy of an amulet deck and get him to make one for me. Yeah, I don't actually know where to get an amulet deck from besides just straight up buying it, which if I really want to guarantee that this deck catches a ban, that's what I got to do. So maybe I'll just get on and order everything that I'm missing from the deck, which is a fair bit of stuff because these cards are not playable anywhere else.
So there are, I believe, multiple people, maybe just one person in this Discord, in our local Discord, who has an amulet deck that doesn't play consistent RSQs. You could ask if anyone has one for land. Because, yeah, there's at least 2. Because they don't always want to play amulet. Actually, 3. I just keep thinking more people who've recently bought or have amulet in the past.
Yeah, but then I'm not doing my duty of getting this thing kicked out of the format. But
I don't like needed ban. I'm not like one of those people. I would rather amulet be okay and also the rest of the decks be able to compete with it.
I think that very likely what's going to happen eventually, maybe not on a very short timeline, but on a 2-ish year timeline perhaps, is that Amulet gets banned and it is a spelunking combo deck that is still kind of fine. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it would just be a different world then.
Yeah.
Oh, did Wit tell you that he was playing the RC, Charlotte RC,
mm-hmm.
against Amulet, and the random rules interaction we talked about with Spelunking and Double Amulet came up? Is the one that tried to like get a Saga into play and untap it a bunch? And because Wit had actually been briefed on this interaction,
Right. With Primeval
got to call
Titan
his
and
opponent out
yep.
on it.
Yep.
And the judge had like came and ruled in the favor, and it went the hero's way, and it was great, and everyone clapped and all that. Like it literally happened.
I did during the RCQ this weekend. I was sitting next to an Amulet player, like round 1 or 2, who explained that interaction to his opponent and did it correctly and clearly, and it made me very happy to hear that. So the
This is another local Amulet player. Who is this person?
I didn't know them.
Okay, I know most of the local amuleteers.
But I was keeping an ear open as I was like shuffling my deck for game 2, just to like, just because I was curious if it was going to be properly explained or if I was going to need to call a judge. But no, the Amulet player did a very good job and knew what they were doing.
That's honestly most Amulet players. You don't start playing that deck randomly just to like feel something.
I mean, I don't really know how smoothly my first couple RCQs with this thing are going to go.
Honestly, it'll be fine. If you know what you're doing, if you maybe you don't know what you're doing, but if you goldfish a bunch and you could fake confidence, you'll just figure out what you're doing wrong very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the real concern I think is just getting the cards.
Well, I'll put a message out in the Discord and see if anybody is willing to just like spot me an Amulet deck for a month or so, and if not, I'll buy them. It's not a big deal.
I think for my part, I'm gonna keep on this little brood scale grindstone for a little bit. I like the deck.
Yeah.
I've not been unhappy with it in games, even playing some bad cards. And I don't know, it seems like it's fine.
Yeah.
I like playing against the fair decks. The unfair decks are not the worst in the world.
No, sounds fine. I honestly like I have no problem with prowess. I just am like, you know, not going to BS myself about like what the fact that I should just be playing Amulet. But you know, there's plenty of decks to enjoy that are quite fine and quite fun.
I actually think the format's kind of narrow, and you don't really like. If you had to ask me what are the like reasonable decks someone I think should want to win the tournament is playing, it would be probably Boros and Amulet, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, there's like a second tier of these could probably win, which is like Brood Scale, and then either Yawgmoth or Sam, I think are reasonably okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think we dropped down another tier.
Yeah, and then you get to Orzhov and whatever.
Oh, Prowess would be in the Yawgmoth tier,
sure.
I guess. That's just not a deck I'm thinking about. But yeah, and then you get to the other stuff, which is like Eldrazi and Frog and all the random. And then the Jeskai Ascendancy thing, I think, is a little much worse than I thought previously. But I'm kind of hopeful for Artifact Pile Corey Steelcutter decks. So if you could figure out a good one of those, it's probably worth trying out and playing. I really do think that. I just don't want to spend the time doing it myself.
Yeah, I understand, but I'm gonna put in the work. Wish me luck, everybody.
Yeah, good luck. It's also a little worrisome because I do want to. I think the Imri, Moxen, Core Steelcutter thing can work without Ascendancy, but you're still intrinsically being a fair deck because those are all fair. You're doing fair card stuff. and I don't think that's probably good enough in this format.
Yeah, I think that's mostly true. I think that it's like close, but there's just a level of clunkiness between like how much mana your enchantment costs, how little it does in a decent number of
An
situations.
enchantment.
Just Guy Ascendancy?
Oh no, I'm talking about cut ascendancy to
Oh, sure.
something different, something
Yes.
else with those cards.
No, yeah, I understand, and right, like I think that the problem is just that Jeskai Ascendancy itself is too clunky. Although it gives you a combo, the combo is not that good. And yeah, those cards do have something going for it, but yeah, another angle would get me more excited.
There's like room to explore. It's just hard to kind of figure it out.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess you could jam Mill because Mill's great against Titan.
Yes, you could do that. It's a pretty masochistic tendency, particularly into like a Boros energy, like is it prowess format.
They ain't got it.
Woof.
Sometimes you have to just call your shot.
I don't think that shot gets correctly called very often. I think there are too many decks that will eat you if you're playing Mill, and yeah, you are likely to beat me in any given tournament except for this past RCQ. But you are.
Or did you beat Bill?
Well, no, I played prowess. I wouldn't have.
Oh no, but it would be against you, so it'd still be even.
I'm not saying I'm bad at playing against Mill. I'm saying I never play a deck that can beat it.
Look, every time I've seen you play against Mill, you've lost.
Yeah, because I'm always playing shit like Living End.
Living End, Amulet. Just asking for it.
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, I can't recommend Mill, and it has nothing to do with what deck I'm potentially going to register, and everything to do with the fact that half of any given top 8 is Boros energy.
Yeah, the deck's good.
Yeah.
I don't think it's like very excellent, but I do think it's so consistent and so good.
Extremely solid. It keeps up on a lot of axes, and you can punk people out with Blood Moon. It has a lot going for it.
Mm-hmm. It's just efficient.
Yep.
Like it has a lot of play to it. It's a nice deck to play.
Yep.
It feels good.
It does. It just, Flage is just a little too good, but the deck does feel good to play, and a deck like it being good is completely fine. I think that it's nice to play against a lot of the time too.
Yeah, feels good to beat a lot of the time too.
Yep, because you're like right on the edge, and you're just like trying every game where you're just like trying not to die to Goblin Bombardment, but you barely get there. You feel so good. It's good magic.
It's certainly one of those decks where the more you play with or against it, and you learn what the board should look like based on what their hand is. Mm-hmm. So I played against Mike right in round 1. He was playing Boros, so we played our game, and the board progressed, and I knew if he has Bombardment here, I lose. Period. And he's going to play here because he has XYZ, and it's good against my board. He didn't have it, so I'm like, oh, thank God. So he probably has, one of these 2 cards, and we just get to play from there. And it's really nice because all the cards in Boros are not interchangeable. They're all pretty unique.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good gameplay. Anything else before we head out?
Nah, we can head out.
All right.
I've got some food to cook.
Yeah.
I don't have 8 hours to spare.
Well, yeah, you can't start the bolognese after the podcast. That doesn't work.
Yeah, I'd be cooking till way past my bedtime.
Thanks to everybody for listening. We really appreciate your time. That's it for us. Have a great week.
Bowdy.
Bowdy.